Bienvenidos, mis hijos del pecado. Today we're covering The Exorcism of God, the only film where the demon is not just horny, she's got daddy issues and a chokehold kink. Father Peter walks in with the Bible and walks out with his pants down. He didn't just fall from grace, he raw-dogged a demon and called it divine intervention, baby. This movie's got moaning, groaning, exorcism moans that sound like OnlyFans previews, and a priest who got possessed from the waist down. So grab your holy water, pour yourself a senrita, and prepare for the movie that proves even the Lord's servants aren't safe from temptation, especially when it's got glowing eyes and a voice that says,
"Ay, papi."
Welcome to Horror Cinema Obsession. Here, we dive deep into the chilling depths of horror cinema, from the critically acclaimed scares to the laughably ludicrous, and even the delightfully obscure. Now, let's join our hosts, Richard and Angelus, as they share their love, laughs, and sometimes sheer disbelief at the world of horror movies.
All right, we're back, folks. Welcome to Horror Cinema Obsession. I'm one half of the host, Richard, and then the second half of this host, to make a whole host, it's my beautiful co-host,
Angeles.
Yeah, Angelus. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good. Man, this was a listener's pick. You guys picked this online, and I'm happy you did. Wow, this movie was freaking awesome. If you didn't know from the intro, we're covering The Exorcism of God.
First time watch.
Yep, long time listener, first time watch. But it was good. It blew my socks off.
It fucked.
Yeah, as the kids say, it fucked. So, yeah, our initial interpretation, we've never seen this movie. We're just diving into this. We're going balls deep like this movie did. And guys, it was so amped up and cheesy. We're going to cover it, but the episode's going to kind of follow that theme.
Okay.
Bear with us.
Before we go any farther, we highly, highly, highly recommend you guys go give this movie a watch.
Yes, watch it.
Give it some love.
Rent it. You have to rent it because unfortunately it's not any streaming services.
Not currently.
But I encourage you to spend the $4 and rent this movie. Maybe even pay the $8 and buy the movie.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about doing it.
I would watch it again.
Guys, the movies we've covered, I put posters on the wall. I'm honestly going to buy one of these posters. This movie was one of my favorites that I've seen in a while. Like
Exorcism movies?
Well, no, this one, Exorcism of God in general. A lot of these we've covered 51 of these episodes, right? We're on episode 51. Well, this one, man, is one that takes the cake. It's definitely worth watching. So we're going to spoil some stuff, so I highly recommend watching it and then coming back and listening to this. This is a good one, and especially if you like exorcisms, especially if you like horror touching on religion, this does it. It pushes an envelope. It's
if you like
awesome.
Movies with a twist, go give it a watch.
Yeah.
It has good jump scares. It has gore.
Yeah.
Good makeup and costumes.
Safe to say we're drooling all over this. But that being said, doesn't mean it's not flawless.
It's not perfect. They did have a small budget, so.
Although it doesn't look like a regular Tubi movie, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just it does have good polish. And if you guys remember, well, I guess you don't know yet, but if you do the research, we've covered this director already in The House at the End of Time.
Mm-hmm.
So it has that tint to it, the hues and the palette as far as the film and the cinematography goes, but it's better. It's polished. This guy has gotten more experience.
Oh, yeah.
And honestly, he's becoming this, like, if his next movie is better, that he improves.
I was gonna get.
Oh my God, he's gonna be one of my favorites. I can tell you right now. I'm not blowing smoke.
No. Yeah. So go watch it. Pause the episode, watch it, and then come back.
Yep. Yeah, so we'll dive right into it. This movie was released peak COVID, so September 27th, 2021. It got its premiere at the Fantastic Fest. Its theatrical and digital release, again, it was still peak pandemic, but March 11th, 2022 in the U.S. And it was distributed by the company that brought us the Power Rangers, Saban Film. Ooh-wee, it's morphin' time. No. Sorry. But it was peak pandemic. I think it's important to say, I hate to say it, nobody wants to relive that, but it is important to say the budget on this was 1.3, and then its worldwide gross, it did all right for considering what we were in. So it grossed approximately 6.1 million. Is that what you got, Angela?
Yeah. So it still made pretty good money.
Yeah, exactly. And then it had multinational. This is like one of a handful that we've covered with multinational filming, like locations. You were just looking up some of the locations. What were they?
So they filmed in Mexico City.
Yeah.
Not Mexico. There were 3 main places. So Mexico City, and then there was Tepoztlán, Morelos. And a lot of the filming also took place at Parque Nacional Desierto de los Leones, which is also close to Mexico City. It was Mexico's first national park. It used to be a monastery for monks to go and meditate and live out there.
And now it's for exorcisms.
So now the movie, it's beautiful because I told you, this place, there's like mountains on the backdrop, luscious trees, and a very like rundown, old looking church in the chapel.
Yeah.
And it's really, really, in real life, it is isolated from like the closest town. So you have to drive out there in the middle of nowhere. And here's this huge monastery that looks super cool.
And you said it reminded you a lot of home?
No, some of the backdrops when they were filming the church with the mountains on the back.
These were real locations.
Which are real locations. So my hometown in Minatitlan, the church, it also has like the same rounded chapels. Mm-hmm. And then on the backdrops, there's those very green mountains too.
Yeah. It is worth noting, kind of remind me on this. So those of you that don't like full on different language movies, it's not fully Spanish.
No,
it blends the two, but it's more heavily English. So don't let it deter you. We do cover quite a bit that are in other languages, but this one blends Spanish and English nicely, I think.
I think there was very little Spanish.
It dialed it back a little bit. But it added more authenticity, I think, a little bit more to it.
I like that he still used, actors from Mexico, Venezuela, all over the place. And then we have the father.
The white father.
Peter. He was the minority here.
Yeah. So how you criticize this. How was his Spanish?
It was actually pretty decent.
Really?
Yeah, he did pretty good when his accent.
He had a background. He must have grew up with it or something.
I saw in his credits he's participated in other Spanish-based projects.
He's comfortable with it, yeah.
So he sounds like he's comfortable. It was pretty good. I can understand him without a problema.
Without a problem.
Unlike the Spanish teacher at one of the high schools I went to.
They couldn't really speak Spanish?
I had to interpret her Spanish for her because they couldn't understand her.
Dang, what was it? Just from a different location or what?
No, she just couldn't.
Oh.
I don't think they really vetted the teachers that were teaching foreign languages. They were
love it.
Like,
was it just a straight,
enough.
Was it a basic Karen just teaching Spanish?
I don't think Karen was a term back then. She could roll her R, and I think that's what fooled a lot of people. She would do it. She would walk around and be like, verde, rojo. And kids were like, oh, and I don't know if this is how she got her credentials. She would teach, she could teach you. I never had her as a teacher. But
then when she goes to talk to your parents, they're going to be like, huh? What is this white lady saying?
She knew how to pronounce the words and what they were. But the first time I ever heard her, try to have a natural, fluent conversation, she was struggling.
Yeah.
She couldn't. She was like, what is she saying? I was like, what the hell is going on? You're a Spanish teacher.
Oh, man. Vienna just texted us. She doesn't have reviews. Lazy.
Man.
So no review corner this time around, but that's okay because we did her homework for her. We've got the reviews. Don't you, Angelus? You were looking them up.
Yeah.
And we got a whole segment this time, so we love Vienna, but we're not missing her. What's up? The show must go on. That works out perfect, actually. Cool.
Wow.
No, it does, just because we're going to cover it. But here's what we have, too. I wanted to roll into this. This movie was very unique. Although obvious, the title's Exorcism of God, right? I like this take. This was a unique take for me as far as exorcism movies go.
I thought it was going to be... I didn't know what... I thought it was going to be your regular exorcism movie.
Yeah, your prototypical, okay, a person's possessed, they're peeing themselves, pooing themselves.
However, the title...
Speaking in Latin.
However, the title was intriguing. I think the thing that got me from the trailer, we see zombie Jesus, and I was like, oh shit, I kind of want to see what that's about.
Which coincidentally is Easter today.
We are recording on Easter.
Zombie Jesus has ridden. # baby. Anyways, but yeah, that caught me. The trailer was awesome, so that was another thing. Go check out the trailer. But no, this movie had a good take on this. Was it super mind-blowing? No. Was it a little bit predictable? Yeah, but those are exorcism movies. We've been kind of trained, especially if you're in the horror genre, like we are, and like you guys, I'm sure, that are listening. You know the tropes, and it has a lot of those tropes, right, Angelus?
They're tastefully done, though. I liked them.
Tastefully done, and I like pushing the envelope on this, and we're going to review that a little bit more. But really, this movie is what happens when a demon's goal isn't to possess you, but to evict God from your soul and your body. That was a fucking
twist. I was like, oh.
I thought that was good. See, that caught you off guard.
Yeah.
That didn't necessarily for me. Once I was like, oh, the title, that is clever. I was like, I actually like that take. I want to watch that. So it's a reversed exorcism, and it's kind of brilliant. So most possession movies follow a simple formula, like we were saying. Evil invades, the church responds, the spiritual warfare ensues. But here, the script gets flipped. The demon's mission is to remove God, not to invade like usual. So let me elaborate. Father Peter isn't just haunted by the trauma of his past possession. He's still being influenced by some divine force he sees as redemption or salvation. But the demon, that force, his competition, a rival, something that needs to be purged for evil to fully take root again. And this raises the insane but fascinating question, what if an exorcism could be used by a demon or to cast out holiness? And then have you seen this? I think this is a first in any movie. I have never seen this.
No, I've always seen the priest exorcising the demon out of another person, but not a demon trying to get the goodness and
like
out of a person.
Like, it's awesome when they're going to power, when he's like, the power of Satan compels you.
At the same time.
It was awesome. And then imagine Pazuzu screaming, get out, Jesus.
Yeah.
Like, and just like got you.
And it prays. The demon prays. And it's
the
fucking throwing
good.
Prayers at the priest, and then it totally flipped. They have him tied up and everything, like, oh, we're gonna get the God out of you.
And then here's another interesting take, because I feel like this movie does go deep. It has deeper than if you can get past all the sex and everything.
Well, I feel like a lot of exorcism movies push on the sexual.
Yes. So I have a kind of interesting take that happened in my mind, and maybe you don't agree with me, but think of the demon as maybe a therapist, kind of.
Okay.
Here's where like it gets weirdly deep. So what if the demon isn't just tormenting Peter, but helping him release all his inner pain? Yeah. What if it's helping Peter help his Peter, little Peter, release his inner pain? Oh my God, you sicko. We went blue. If you got kids, I'm sorry. We're definitely horn dogs, I guess.
Peter Pecker.
Get out. Stop it. Anyways, let me elaborate on this demon therapist thing, all right?
Age immaturity came out.
The demon zeroes in on Peter's worst secret, the act of violating a possessed woman, which led to a child. Instead of using the secret to just torture him, the demon exploits it like a therapist from hell. there's this like forced catharsis. Peter has to face what he's repressed, and the demon keeps prodding him until it comes out, like literally and spiritually. So, like, is this like demon evil, or is it just doing shadow work? You know, like a splash of brimstone.
You're fucking rapper.
She's like, I don't know. It might be like one of the most aggressive couples counselor ever, but except it's not a couple. It's Peter and his trauma. So I'm thinking, dude, forget Dr. Phil. I want Dr. Diablo.
Balban.
Dr. Balban. So yeah, and then also we have the spiritual power as a burden versus blessing. So it's like a blessing and a curse for Peter, because he really does have holiness to him. There is something special about him, and this is what's gravitating this demon to him. That's at least what I got out of the film.
He was one of God's favorite children.
Yeah, usually when someone is filled with God, it's seen as a miracle, divine power flowing through them. But this movie says, what if it's a curse?
And they did make references throughout. Well, yeah, at this point, he has a target on his back.
Right. It doesn't free him for his holiness. It binds him. The more he tries to redeem himself, the more crushed he becomes by the shame and guilt. And then it asks the question, is he saved, or is he just spiritually shackled by like an unreachable ideal? This movie plays with the idea visually, too. He's sweating, tormented, and isolating himself from the world, just like someone dealing with like an addiction or like PTSD. And at the climax, he literally purges the divine from his body. Full on money shot. So like this priest didn't just like carry the cross. He fumbled, he fell on it, and then had a full-blown exorgasm in the name of healing.
Richard.
Maybe God didn't choose him. Maybe God cursed him with his guilt kink. You know what I'm saying? And then really just to wrap it up, I have one more little thing here. At the end of the day, this movie asks, what if your biggest enemy wasn't the demon outside, but it was the God inside you?
Whoa.
Huh?
The God inside you?
Yeah. Inside of you. Inside of you. No.
Is it right to be? Is it wrong to be?
Inside of you. Love it. What was that? What was
Sarah Marshall?
Yeah.
Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
And then, hey, real quick, I'm sorry. I've been on a water kick. I gotta use the bathroom. I will be right back. All right, we're back. Sorry about that, folks. I did have a chance to talk to Vienna. I guess the review corner is gonna be on. She did make a special commitment to us, so that was great. Appreciate it. So to get back at it, I think this is a good roll into this. Did the director, was this unintentional genius, or was this like a train wreck? Like, did he fall into this, or what? Like, did he have aspirations of doing something deeper, or was it by accident?
I think he had. Okay, so I'm making a huge assumption here that he is religious, just because a lot of Latin American countries tend to be religious. I grew up very religious. Maybe he was trying to make a point here and make a criticism on religion. So
here's the thing. This movie deals with sin, guilt, faith, corruption, and trauma, right? Mm-hmm. All while giving us possessed penises and zombie Jesus. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. I'm going to keep bringing him up. I love zombie Jesus. Which raises the question, did this movie actually have something important to say, or did it just accidentally fall face first into genius while trying to be as shocking as possible? And so there is deep stuff in here. It's somewhere. It is in here. So examples. Religious trauma. Father Peter's guilt is crushing, and he's committed like a horrific act and spends the rest of the film drowning in his shame and trying to earn forgiveness. There's no way around it. He raped
Esperanza.
Not Esperanza. Magali. He raped her, right? Mm-hmm. And it kind of begs the question, was it him, or was he claims and it does look like he was possessed. Yeah. Like he went under Satan's temptations. He owns that. But he did. So he's trying to find forgiveness. He's trying to forgive himself. And then there's corruption in the church. The movie doesn't shy away from calling out how the church sometimes buries sin under the guise of faith and redemption. And then spiritual contradiction. Peter is both a sinner and a savior, holy and holy at once. The duality is like fascinating if you really dig into it, because this does ask the question, can there be evil and good in someone? Because they say no. They're like, there's no room for evil if there's God inside you, is what Joffrey from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air says in this. It's like the movie wanted to say something serious about spiritual guilt and like institutional hypocrisy, but then someone on set said, what if the demon makes him bust? So like, they're like, forget all that stuff. What if it just showed him nutting? You know what I mean?
I think, to me, it was a little bit more deep than just, oh, this is funny.
Yeah.
We've talked about, like, why can't, in the Catholic religion, where this takes place, why can't priests get married? Let them fucking have a family. Let them be in relationships and experience humanity, man. That's all it is.
Yeah. Why sacrifice like the ultimate pleasure in life, making that sweet, passionate love?
Oh my God. He was so guilty and riddled with shame because, yes, the way in which it happened, it was so wrong. But even in that first exorcism, when he first met Magali, where this happened and he was possessed, Father Michael told him, he's like, hey, if you have any sin whatsoever, like, the demon will get it out of you. And he did. And you could tell, there's a scene that we can talk about later. You can tell that the father, like, low-key had feelings for her. And he later on admits to them that he was, like, falling in love with her.
He loved her and he was taken back from her beauty.
But it's seen as a sin and something dirty. It's natural. The man, he's a man.
Yeah.
And she's a woman.
So I will say this movie, the tone is all over the place. Here's where it gets a little muddy, right? From my observation, the film swings between horror, drama, and full-blown exploitation. Maybe this film is better like satire of organized religion than anything we've seen lately, and it didn't even mean to be. Like, this movie was trying to be The Exorcist, but somehow it became like Spotlight with slime and, ectoplasm.
Oh my God. Just.
So, yeah, I don't know. The filmmaker's intent, like, it was... Again, misguided vision, or is a masterclass? Do you think the filmmaker meant to make something insightful? I think yes, to a certain extent.
And then entertainment.
Exactly. And then he also put a wrapping of entertainment on this. This isn't like Passion of the Christ, where even that one, I have yet to see that, but I know of it, right?
Passion of the Christ?
Yeah, there's gore. You've seen it.
Yeah, the movie was fucking intense at the time it came out.
It was intense,
could consider
gory,
it a horror
bloody.
movie.
Yeah, it was intense. And to get people to watch that, you have to I'm sorry, obviously the super religious people are going to watch it and be like, yes, enjoy it.
Well,
but to get people like me in the theater seats to pay a ticket, man, I got to see you push the envelope there. I got to see the blood. I got to see all that. You know what I mean? It can't just be like old school 1953 10 Commandments. That's boring. I don't want to watch 4 hours of that. It's outdated, man. It was probably cool at the time, but you need to bring it into this century.
Bring your A game.
Exactly.
No, Passion of the Christ at the time, yeah, it was pretty fucking intense. Even from people from all the graphic and, like you mentioned, the gore in your face.
Yeah, I mean, look at the title. It's bold. The Exorcism of God. That just sounds profound. And then again, it uses the Catholic icons and real moral dilemmas, but it also weaponizes that sex, shock, and gore in ways that feel pulpy and very cheesy and schlock. Mm-hmm. But then he ties it back. It comes back and it gets more mature in areas. Yeah. So where you let's unload, he also brings it back a little bit too. Mm-hmm. So it's fun, but also is organized.
Yeah.
In my opinion. And I don't think it's accidental satire, but I don't know. It's hard to think. I guess we can wrap it up. I feel like I'm just mumbling, but So just kind of a judgment call. So my take on it, I think this was at times a happy accident. They aimed for sleazy shock horror, but somewhere in that process too, they had symbolism and really were trying to get something deep in there as well. What do you think?
I think so too. I think it was a good mix of both serious entertainment. I like the comedy. I think it brought a little bit of everything in there.
Yeah, intentional or not, this movie made me feel things. Mostly confusion, but also deep thoughts sandwiched between boners and blood.
Jesus, Richard. I thought you were done with the juice.
I'm sorry. I just had fun with this movie, okay?
Okay. I can see that.
And then, so, again, I want to segue into this. This movie, from a critic standpoint and from an audience standpoint, I don't think many people saw this movie. I think it's relatively unknown.
I hadn't heard of it before.
Me neither. And I think as I did the research, there's a little bit, I really had to scour the internet and find the information we needed. And it just isn't like, it's not on any streaming services. I've never seen it on any streaming services.
I think the first time when we covered like Hasta el fin de los tiempos, it said online that it was on Tubi, but we know that Google's
so maybe
not always
it was
accurate.
at one point. Maybe it was at one point, but all these, like you pointed out, all these TikTokers that do the horror reviews and everything, I'm not calling them out. They just haven't mentioned it. They haven't mentioned it.
Or
anybody on Instagram, they haven't mentioned it.
I have never seen anyone mention this movie before.
Like that fucking bald-headed dude, he didn't talk about it. What the fuck ever his name is. She's like giving me the rap sign. I don't give a fuck. I don't know his name. It ain't worth it. I'm joking. I love all God's people.
Get the fuck out of here. You're dumb.
I'm Italian. I got a little spice in me, okay?
Okay.
But no, it's relatively unknown. I think you could agree with that. I think most people can,
yes,
right?
I've never heard of it before.
But that being said, I think the critics missed the point. Audiences zeroed in on shock value and missed the deeper and culturally grounded story underneath. And I'm not trying to preach here, but I do think there was something missed. And I think this movie will eventually become known and people will like it. I think it will be cult classic. So, like, we know the movie caught a lot of heat. People called it exploitive, messy, and even offensive. But honestly,
we say, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, there's way more love than it's getting. It's bold, it's different, and we think a lot of people just miss the point, like we were saying. It really swings for the fences, and that's a good thing. While a lot of horror plays it safe, and we've watched a lot that play it safe, it's like, man, I wish they would have did a little bit more. I mean, how many times, guys, have you heard me say,
all the time.
I wish the head would have, like, natural effects would have done this, or I wish the story would have went this route. So it's not afraid to deal with that spiritual corruption, religious guilt, or moral failure like we've been talking about. It's not just about good versus evil. It's about what happens when good fails and evil understands you better than God does. That's a provocative idea. And even if it's messy, it's gutsy. People rag on the movie for being too much, but isn't horror supposed to go there? Isn't that the whole point of the genre? To be uncomfortable and to be challenging and raw? I think pushing the envelope is a huge part of horror, and that's what makes me enjoy the horror genre as much as I do, how much I love it, is because it does talk about topics of the day and it does push the envelope on those things. It makes you feel uncomfortable about that,
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I felt like I was cutting you off.
No, I 100% agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, like the critics, they just focused on the sex.
On the one thing,
and not the shame.
It's part of it. In real life, that is horror. It's shitty and it's fucked up that it happens, but it happens in real life. Unfortunately, like the statistics are so high, and this is what it's speaking. It's making a commentary. It's not brushing it off because the dude lives with this sin for for all of his life.
I think it's important to show
I'm not defending him. What he did, what happened was incredibly fucked up, but
irreprehensible. But
they're not just, the movie's not just saying, you raped someone, let's move on.
And it's not also saying, I like how it puts these clergymen in a position where they're not put on a pedestal. They're not perfect. You know, they battle issues like me and you have. You know what I mean? They have these common issues. They're human. That they humanize the person. We give a lot of these guys, they're a higher power. They're, you know, morally higher than us.
I say over and over again, they are humans. Do not idolize people in positions of power.
And I feel like a lot of people do. I mean, we know a few people, right? But
well, not just religious, but famous influencers, politicians, just all over. Stop idolizing. They're just people. They make mistakes.
Right.
Nobody's
and they got
perfect.
their viewpoints, and I'm not disputing their viewpoints.
And some of them have great, you know, ideas, suggestions on, you know, how to solve hunger and
but they're not
poverty
geniuses.
and everything. But don't. I think where people go wrong is they expect them to be flawless.
I mean, we deal with that with our, you know, teenager. It's like very, you know, you hear things and it's not always the truth. These people aren't, yes, they're talented and yes, they can be iconic, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what they say isn't always
right.
Right, exactly. Have your own viewpoint.
No, yes. Have your own individual opinions. So, yeah, I think some of the reviews, like you said, focused on one aspect of the movie rather than the whole picture.
They latched on to the idea of the priest ejaculating during possession and labeled the movie as sleazy or offensive, but there's way more going on.
Yeah, that's part of the movie.
Yeah, it's not just shock value. It's how the spiritual repression and guilt can manifest into horrifying, uncontrollable ways.
The other thing is that the movie was talking about homophobia. If anyone has ever been involved with religion,
okay, I do have it. Yeah, so yes, you grew up in a culture in Mexico, right?
Yeah.
And still in the United States, the culture is very prevalent in your family and everything, right?
Religion?
And how you've grown up, yes.
Yes.
Is very different. So you bring up a good point about homosexuality.
Well, just in the church, period. I feel like anyone who's ever been to church, and especially some of those more conservative churches, you see a lot of those conversations are still happening. I remember within the past 10 years, the Pope came out and said that it was okay to love everyone or something along those lines. Don't quote me. But he mentioned, you know, even people that are outside of the hetero community, he said it was okay to love everyone. And it was like a big shockwave throughout people of the church. Like, oh, the Pope is saying it's okay to be around
and
this.
It might not resonate with the U.S. audience because it comes from Latin American perspective on religion, guilt, and sin. Like Catholicism in Latin America is deeply embedded in the culture, but is also steeped in shame, symbolism, and a fear of supernatural. We've covered this in previous episodes, right?
Yeah.
The fear of divine punishment, of actually being abandoned by God, is more potent in societies that treat religion as part of a daily life and not just Sunday mornings. Western audiences often sanitize religion in media, but this film taps into folk Catholicism, like generational shame and like apocalyptic imagery that's more visceral. It's frustrating when critics don't consider that this isn't a sanitized Hollywood take on possession. It's a like culturally specific nightmare, and if you're not from that background, you might miss the weight of that. So if you're not trying. I feel like a lot of the comments that you're reading off to me yesterday, people were not, they missed the point. They were not giving it a shred of a chance.
There were the two main things that they were pointing out. And how about this? Let's be mad at religion. This is why I don't follow religion, because there's a lot of flaws within it.
And again, we're not trying to be preachy. We're not trying to be preachy.
No, but I'm just saying, this was a movie.
Yeah.
Speaking on a lot of different things that it was pulling from and elements. I don't think that it was trying to glorify or say one thing or the other.
Yeah. And they depicted it. I mean, in the church, what they were talking about, the homosexual thing, he was listing off a whole things that is not welcome in the kingdom of God. Do we agree with that?
No.
I'm not highly religious. But in those cultures, if I'm over there, I'm going to respect that. I'm not going to like call it out and be like, oh, you homophobic bastards. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, you just don't. That's why you don't go to church.
Yeah.
You're like,
but it's a viewpoint. It's their viewpoint. I respect it. I respect it. Just like they respect me. Like, get out of here. Oh my God. You're trying to wage a war on our our Christian fan base here, man.
I'm not, but if you listen, I'm pretty sure they know what we're talking about.
Right.
They've seen it. Otherwise, they wouldn't be watching horror.
And dude, another thing too that it gets a bad rap is really it did have budget restraints.
The cheesy tropes.
Yeah.
And
so the budget, like we said, was around 1.3 million. Tiny by horror standards, especially for a movie trying to pull off effects heavy sequences like this one. The prison setting, possession scenes, and stylized gore. People love to compare this to The Exorcist, but the movie had money like The Exorcist did. It had time and it had studio throwing resources at it. The Exorcism of God did the most with what it had, and it still gave us a wild visual, solid performances, and proactive themes. You can tell this team cared. There are moments where the camera work and the lighting and the makeup go way harder than most indie horror movies even try. And like you said, a lot of people shat on it for there are references, and I actually like when they reference. This isn't the first movie to reference The Exorcist, and it's not the last. We literally just watched a movie, Veronica, that did the same thing. The lighting, the poster, everybody's seen it. I'm looking at it right now. I have the poster. The father sitting on the street light shining. Yeah. Yes, they did that. And I think Hidalgo, right, is the director. I think he pulled that cinematography off.
Yes, the lighting was perfect.
It was amazing. It looked good. Even going in, he took it a step further. Going into the room, everything, the whole setting was like, oh, am I watching The Exorcist?
Pictures falling on the walls, stuff all over the room.
And he was... I don't think it as much of I'm going to copy this because I don't have no talent.
I think he was inspired.
Yes. This inspired a bunch of people.
This man...
He was showing appreciation and respect, in my opinion.
We talked about him in depth in La Casa al Fin de los Tiempos. Mm-hmm. He was like 30 when he started directing, or was he younger?
The House at the End of Time.
Yes. He was 30 at the time. But no, this guy, you can tell that he loves what he does, and he puts all his passion into what he's putting out there into the world to see.
Clearly. And then we were in the height of, and let's face it, 2022, cancel culture.
Oh, yeah.
People were going crazy. We were locked in our houses. So anything like that, I can imagine the movie. I didn't watch at the time. It was unheard of. I didn't know.
How fucking dare they?
Exactly. People were ready. They had their fire, their pitchforks.
Yeah.
And it was unfair. And again, it was like so narrow-minded, like be open to what you're watching. It's a movie, folks. Like they're not condoning rape. They're not condoning all this. They're challenging it because it is wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And people battle with that. So the cancel culture around that time, I think it's gotten better. And I think people are going to be able to understand this movie a little bit more once they get past that surface of schlock.
Watch it and give it a review based on how do you feel about it.
Yeah, give it a chance. Give it a chance is all I'm saying. Again, it's not for kids. Right off the bat, it's not for kids, but like most horror. But if you do have small children, I do not encourage watching that with them. What else do we have?
I don't know. What else do we have? Ta-ta-ta.
We can go into the staff.
Okay.
Or the cast.
The cast?
To start it off, we were talking about him, Will Beinbrink. He plays Father Peter Williams. His role, again, an American priest in Mexico haunted by a past exorcism gone wrong. So his background is an American actor known for his role in films like It Chapter 2 and Queen of the South. He has a diverse portfolio, including appearances in The Disappearance of Eleanor Rigby and The Free World.
Ooh.
I liked him in this. I think acting also gets a knock on this movie. I don't think the acting was the greatest, but he didn't do a bad job.
I thought it was pretty good. I don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
Guys... Angelus and Vienna looked at me like I was crazy, but this guy was a Kirkland branded Benedict Cumberbatch. Please let me know if you agree or disagree. And I'm not saying 1-to-1. Vienna's like, oh, it's got to be 1-to-1. He is not. I'm not saying that. I'm saying he looks like a downed version, a discount version of Benedict Cumberbatch.
I don't see it.
I do.
This guy was also in It Chapter 2.
Yeah,
I did not.
Oh, what character was he?
Will Bainbrink?
Yeah.
The father. Father Peter.
In It Chapter 2.
I don't know. I didn't write it down. I was like, the father? We just talked
Jesus Christ. Okay. So he was great. And then who do we have next?
And then we have Maria Gabriela de Faria, who played Esperanza. Or the father's daughter. She's actually a Venezuelan actress. Has been acting since she was 4 years old.
Hey, let's put a pen in it for a second. I do want to say something. I want to bring this up. I want to get a poll from our listeners. El Chico Loomis, I want to hear from you. I appreciate your opinion. And then Lord Pineapple Doodles, you too. Great. And whoever else, I want to hear it. We're going to put a poll out.
Oh my God.
The name, our unborn child, we battle over this if we have a little girl. I'm thinking Rosa or Rosita. What do you guys think?
I say no.
I say yay. I know you say it's traditional, but and it's old lady name, but I like that old timey name. I think it adds a little bit of charm, and she'll be my Rose.
Name her Lily some other tulip. I don't know.
You like what's his name? Kissed by a Rose.
Oh, Seal.
Yeah.
that has nothing to do with naming. Or like a little kid Rosa.
Rosa.
Rosa Rosita. I don't like it.
I love it. I love it. So anyways, let's go back. I want to hear you guys' opinions. Either blow me up or blow her up. I want to know. And we'll end this debate. All right, mija?
Okay, mijo. So, yeah, she's done a lot of TV. Some of the credits were...
This is Maria Gabriela de Faria?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
She was very beautiful. She was in a TV show called Toda una Dama.
She plays the possessed child,
daughter,
right?
Yeah,
the daughter. Okay.
La Virgen de la Calle in 2014. Yo Soy Frankie in 2016. More recently, she was in The Moody's and Cycles in 2024.
Okay. Yeah, I thought she was very pretty.
Mm-hmm.
I do like her makeup work they put on her. It was kind of giving me Evil Dead makeup vibes. I loved it.
That was another comment, and they said that it looked like they had ordered their costumes from Timo or
Spirit Halloween.
Shein, and the makeup from Halloween. You saw me, Biana saw me. I got a few jumps in there the first time we were watching it.
Guys, if you don't know this already, Angelus does not like a religious horror gets her every time. Like The Nun 2, this. What was another religious one we watched? It made you kind of. It was
both
cringe.
of them. We watched Nun 1 and 2. I think Annabelle.
They get you, man. Get you. Your religious background.
I was holding on to you guys, and then Vienna was being an asshole, getting ready for the jump scare, and she was fueling it.
It was good. But no, the makeup was a class act, in my opinion. I thought it was good.
It was good.
And then, so the next guy we got is Joseph Marcel. He plays Father Michael Lewis. And then those of you might know him, and I know him from this. At first, I thought he was the Reading Rainbow guy. But no, same era. He was the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He was the butler, Joffrey.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out, dude. I was like, that's awesome. Joffrey turned into a fucking exorcist.
He was funny in this.
Yeah. He plays this seasoned exorcist assisting Peter. And then he's a British actor with extensive experience in theater, including performances with the Royal Shakespeare Company. I liked him in this. He played pretty good. I liked
him too. He did pretty good. The next person that we have, I'm very familiar with her, Iran Castillo, who played Magali.
Oh, dude, I liked her in this too. She was pretty good.
The first possessed woman. I grew up watching her in the operas. So that's what I remember her from. This woman in 98 was working 365 days a year.
Yeah.
From what I was seeing, she's done a ton of soap operas. Very few
she loves to act,
movies
clearly.
That I saw. But I was telling Biana we were doing the math, and it was crazy because in 98 she filmed telenovela Preciosa. That had 98 episodes alone. And then she went into film Soñadoras, which was another big hit telenovela.
Yeah.
In 98, same year, 174 episodes. Plus the 98, that was like 260 something in one year.
Yeah.
And she also did a movie.
It also says she's a singer.
Yeah, she used to be in a girl band back in the early 90s called Mosquitas.
Oh, shit. My Mosquitas are here.
I don't know where this came from, but this is a new fucking nickname. Where did it come from?
Don't ask the questions behind that. You don't want the answers.
Mosquita. You're like, ooh, fly. Yeah, and then she was in Amar Otra Vez, El Pantera, La Mexicana y El Güero, and more recently, Mesa de Regalos. When we saw her in the costume, I was like, she looks slightly familiar.
Yeah. Well, with all that makeup, you couldn't tell.
And then when we see her, after years later, I was like, oh, shit, that's Iran.
Yeah, I thought she did an awesome job.
Yeah.
And then we have Hector Costafakakis. I can't say it.
Kotsifakis.
Yeah. He plays Dr. Nelson. His background, he's a Mexican actor. Hector has appeared in various films and television series, showcasing his
production
versatility across genres. What do you have on him?
He was in El Guapo, Así en el Barrio como en el Cielo, Hysteria, Nada Personal, and then Pedro Páramo, and more recently, Perdida Total. So a lot of TV, theater, and then a few movies in between. And then we have Evelia de Gennaro, who was Sister Camila. I only had one other credit that I found for her. In 2014, she was in El Psiquiatra.
Okay.
She did pretty good, too.
Yeah, I thought she was good.
With the kids.
Yeah.
That's all I had. That was like the main crew that I got down.
Well, I have Possessed Jesus. Alfredo Herrera. I had to make sure. So his background, while specific details about him are limited, his role in the film is notably striking and symbolic for me. So shout out Alfredo Herrera. And then I do have Juan Ignacio Aranda. He's Bishop Balducci.
Oh, that's
so he's the high-ranking church official that is clearly under Balban's control. So he's a seasoned Mexican actor. I've seen him on stateside too. He's appeared in numerous telenovelas and films, establishing a solid presence in Latin American media.
Beautiful.
Shout out, man.
Shout the fuck out.
Wow.
I do want to say for the movie did have that the film did get critical acclaim at the 42nd edition of Fantasporto, and it did receive a Best Director's Award, highlighting storytelling and cinematic craftsmanship.
Yeah. Oh, fascinating. So we usually go in the director. I do have a quick recap if you want me to go through it.
Sure.
So Alejandro Hidalgo, he's a Venezuelan filmmaker, best known for The House at the End of Time. In 2013, critically acclaimed, atmospheric, and emotionally rich. It was Venezuela's first horror film to gain international success, if you guys can remember us talking about it, and it put him on the map. So this movie wasn't just scary, it was soulful, and I think he did a good job with that. This is the themes he likes to tackle.
This was his first English movie.
He deserves credit for The Exorcism of God, and this was his first English language film with international funding and a shot under pandemic conditions. He co-wrote this film and clearly poured a lot of personal themes into it. That begs the question, I don't know. I'd imagine it'd be difficult. I don't know what his level of English is.
Oh, yeah,
but man, being able, because I know it's hard to translate like English over to Spanish, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, man, because there's a lot of breakdowns you got to kind of figure out.
Yeah.
And the dialogue on this obviously had a writer with him, but that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to do that, because it would be painstaking to try to figure that out.
Are they saying the right thing the way I want them to say it?
Yeah, exactly. Is this coming through?
Does it make sense?
Because he lives in Venezuela, right? Or Argentina.
I don't know if he's still in Venezuela.
Wow. Okay.
But that's where he's from.
And then Yeah, I think he deserves credit for this movie. And then cultural depth gets lost in translation, like we were talking. Hidalgo brings Latin American religious sensibilities into his work, much like the last movie we covered, House at the End of Time, in this one.
Mm-hmm.
There's more mysticism, more reverence and fear of the supernatural, and more shame tied to the faith. This isn't just a demon flick. It's a guy who grew up steeped in Catholicism, wrestling with the darker what-ifs of his faith.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. And then we have, for this, I don't know if we've covered him before.
We
but
have not.
Santiago Fernandez Calvetti.
Uh-huh. Calvete.
What do you have on him?
He's a movie director from Argentina. He is a screenwriter, director, and content developer for film and TV.
Does a little bit of everything.
Does a little bit of everything. I have a few credits. Wasn't able to find too much about his background.
Okay.
But I did see he's been writer and director for movies such as Second Death, Inmate Witness, Word I Like Blood, and then he wrote, along with Hidalgo, Exorcism of God.
Okay, yeah.
But
so this is a thematic match with Hidalgo. So I think these two love it because they collaborated on that. The death and what lies beyond, guilt and spiritual reckoning, and the weight of secrets and suppressed trauma. I think those are all rich storytelling things. And these guys love this. You can clearly tell that they were a match made in heaven.
Oh, yeah.
Or hell.
Or hell.
All right. Do we have anything else?
I think that's it that we have so far.
Okay, should we take a quick break?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, we'll be right back, guys. Wow, guys, we got another incredible sponsorship here. Do you suffer from sudden spiritual leakage, guilt that hits out of nowhere, or an unholy mess after a rough exorcism? Ooh.
Well, you are not alone. Every year, thousands of clergymen experience unexpected episodes of sin seepage. But now, there's help.
Introducing Father Peter's Purity Pads, the only discreet, Vatican-approved liner designed from the spiritually overwhelmed.
They are ultra-thin, demon-resistant, blessed in small batches by retired bishops.
Whether you're leaking holy regret, expelling minor demons, or just need some backup during high-pressure exorcisms, Purity Pads have your unmentionables covered.
Built with celestial mesh technology to trap impure thoughts before they stain your soul, all your slacks.
We've even added our patented Sinlock core, capable of absorbing shame, pride, and up to 14 ounces of demonic discharge.
But also great for long sermons, awkward confessions, and holy water splashback.
So don't let spiritual accidents ruin your ministry. Stay fresh, stay faithful, and stay dry. Father Peter's Purity Pads absorb the sin, not the shame.
Not effective against full demonic possessions, Vatican annulments, or spontaneous crucifixion. Side effects may include self-reflection, light moaning, and mild damnation.
All right, we're back. Please rush to the stores or go to Amazon for Father Peter's Purity Pads.
Sounds like a tongue twister.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Peter's Purity Pecker Patch.
Wow. Welcome back. So, how was your break?
It was good.
That was good?
It was good.
Yeah.
How was your break?
It was
you
pretty
were jamming in your guts on your instruments.
In my guitar? Yeah. I was waiting for you patiently. Dude, that was something we haven't brought up. We had a major week going on. We have an announcement, guys, that we didn't even bring this up. Can't believe it. She's ashamed is what. That's what's going on.
I didn't know we were putting it out there.
Yeah, what do we do?
Richard upset me. I'm kidding. We got engaged.
Ooh-wee.
Oh,
Yep.
Richard put a ring on it.
He
locked it down.
I did. I locked it down. I was like, man, she likes all the, like, her fetish is Italian. So I was like, I gotta lock this down real quick, man.
I don't have fetish.
I'm the only Guido.
Wow.
No. So anyways, congratulations, Angelus.
To us.
Yep. It's an honor.
It's an honor.
And a privilege.
I love it. I love my ring.
Good.
Good.
Now let's get back to the story.
Okay.
Just kidding. But we have our plot.
Richard, did you write a plot this week?
I did. This is my favorite segment, I will say. The most creative. I like creating the spoof ads, but this is like a close second. Maybe a first some weeks.
Wow.
This one would probably be a first for like this week. I think was
I feel like you had too much fun.
I did. I had way too much fun.
Guys, keep track of how many jizz references we're gonna hear.
Hopefully limited. Jesus, you sicko.
What? The ads in the intro?
Yeah, the ads didn't
full
mention
of
that.
sticky matter.
That was for What's up? All right, so you know the drill. You go first. Let's hear it.
Okay. All right, guys. The Battle of the Exorcisms tells the tale of Father Peter, who lost a battle to a devious little demon and fucked up big time, literally. 18 years later, Peter, the do-gooder of the community, still carrying his sin, is called to perform another exorcism yet again. This time, a mysterious woman locked up in a very creepy prison calls on to Peter to cast a flirty demon from within her and have a good old family reunion. With the help of Michael and a good bottle of mezcal, the priests band together to confront their old pal, Balban, while still denying their inner demons. Because why would you tell your inner dirty thoughts to a stranger when you can just hold on to your regrets and live in guilt forever? And what becomes the battle of the exorcisms, Peter tries to prove his strength and once and for all defeat the demon, while at the same time the demon tries to get the God out of Peter. Filled with mysterious viruses, moving creepy religious statues, zombie Jesus, even more Vatican secrets, and a very horny demon, the Exorcism of God is sure to give you a buck for your money. The end.
I like it. Hey, can you back up from the mic just a little bit?
No.
Pop in a little bit.
I need to be loud. I need to be heard, Richard.
Take away some of your thunder. No, that plot was great. Thank you. That was very good. You ready for mine?
Yes.
Okay. Father Peter's just your average priest. Good heart, strong faith, and a tendency to accidentally blast out a hot demon load during an exorcism. Years later, he's still haunted by the unholy money shot heard around the underworld. Now, stationed in rural Mexico, he's trying to save souls, but the devil's not done with them. Between possessed inmates, guilt-ridden flashbacks, a zombie Jesus cameo that could ruin Easter brunch for Peter, Peter's got more to expel than just evil spirits. It's a battle between salvation and seduction, where holy water flies like sweat in a sauna, and the only thing more dangerous than a demon is what's still buried in his pants and his past. So yeah, if The Exorcist got freaky on Easter Sunday and the whole thing ended up Pornhub under guilt-soaked clergy gets wrecked, you'd get this movie. I got two more. So yeah, imagine The Exorcist, but hornier, messier, and uploaded to Pornhub in a category labeled Priest Gone Wild Resurrection Edition. That's this movie. Oh yeah, so yeah, it's like Exorcist had a crisis of faith, made a sex tape on Easter Sunday, and it leaked on Pornhub as Unholy Orders Volume 1. Sorry, I had fun with it.
You had 5 jizz references. Good job.
Hey, man, that was a big part of it. The unholy money shot heard around the underworld.
Woo, woo.
You didn't like it?
I did. Good job.
That was pretty good. Accidentally blast out a hot demon load. Jesus Christ. I'm sorry, guys.
You guys should have heard Richard just laughing by himself in the office.
I was going hard. I was loving this.
I was like, what is going on down there?
This notes can be hard sometimes for these episodes. This, I had the most fun. I really did. I had the most fun. It speaks to my childlike, immature mind. But fuck it.
Fuck it.
Yeah. So should we just get into it? We're about an hour deep into the movie.
Into the movie?
Yeah, the moments that mattered.
Dun, dun, dun. Obviously, the first scene mattered a lot.
The unholy opening. Father Peter attempts an exorcism of Magali, but things take a dark turn. The demon, Balban, manipulates Peter's desire, leading to a shocking act that sets the tone for the film's exploration of guilt and sin. So right off the bat, like we see Nelson, Dr. Nelson, he's picking up the priest and he's like, yo, sir, Mr. Priest, this is bad. This situation's bad. You got to come now. And then his eyes raise up and he's like, okay.
I come, the white savior.
Yep. And then he rushes over. And this is where we get the iconic scene that everybody hates. It references the exorcism. He's looking up, streetlight beaming down.
Mm-hmm.
He has his briefcase full of, exorcisms, cool toys and stuff. But he goes upstairs, and this is where we see, and right off the bat, it punches you in the face, I feel like. Like, it sets you up for what it's about. And Magali's laying there in the bed, demon face.
They have her in a very provocative outfit, too.
Nipping hard.
Dude, whatever they did to her tongue, that was creepy. It was like a very dark, whatever.
It looked like tar.
It looked like tar, but it didn't look like it was a CGI. It looked like they really stained her tongue with something. Mm-hmm. Or I don't know what the hell they did. But the way she was licking herself, I was uncomfortable.
Yeah, I felt like it was tar. Like, if it would have dropped on something, it would have been, like, steamy. Like,
yeah.
It just looked...
I did not like that.
And her eyes, I know people give shit about the eyes in this movie. Awesome. I mean, because your attention goes straight to those eyes. It's like, holy shit.
Yeah, so a lot of you knew when the characters were possessed because they would put those very bright colored contacts on them.
I'm calling it a Michael Jackson Thriller eyes.
Thriller eyes?
Yes.
They were effective. I thought they were effective.
Yeah, and then she's right in the midst of being possessed, right?
Mm-hmm. And well, the other thing is they take her, they take him, show her, and if you're familiar with the whole exorcism, you can't just do an exorcism. You're supposed to get permission from higher ups.
Well, so
which is what he tries to do.
Peter's like, holy shit, he goes in there. He's like, I'll be right back, guys. And then he dials the phone really fast and he calls Joffrey.
Michael.
Yeah. Father Michael. And he's like, dude, this is real shit. I got to perform an exorcism. And Father Mike is like, dude, no, you can't. This is way out of your experience. Do not do it.
So Michael had been approved.
I forbade you.
Yeah, it sounds like Michael had been the one approved to do that specific exorcism, but he couldn't be there until for a couple days.
And we don't know. There's context. So Peter feels pressure because he loves her, because he likes her.
And also the doctor is making it seem like because he keeps checking her vitals and he's like, she can't make it any longer. Like, she needs an exorcism right away.
Yeah. So he's like, okay, I got to do this alone, though.
That was weird because that was the only thing. Another thing that was different. Every other exorcism, you always have an assistant unless you're completely alone.
I mean, usually people that are closely tied to the person are sometimes in the movie, are there, but a lot of times those people are gone. But you always have a sidekick with you
to help you because the demons are always supposed to be so powerful.
Yeah,
and not only that, he locks himself in there.
Yeah. And and this isn't uncommon in
unless he's just trying to keep people out so they don't come in. And
this isn't uncommon in exorcism movies. He does have a camera that he sets up because he wants to document the exorcism.
Yeah,
what's going on? So he starts doing his prayer, and the demon's just like.
The demon knows that he had the hots for Magali because he's like, yeah, you're coming. Oh, get in bed with us. We all threw a fit in here. I know the way you look at her during church.
Yeah, during mass.
Yeah.
And then, he starts throwing, he does chants, and then the demon's moaning and playing it up. And the demon ends up taking the ropes off or breaking out. And then she's sitting up there and the chest. And he looks down. He's like, oh, my God. And you can kind of see the weakness in him because he's
trying to avoid looking at her. Yeah.
Yeah, obviously, I don't know how he'd think that's desirable in that moment.
In the middle of all of that shit going on, yeah.
But demon voice does not do it for me. It's kind of like me go, wow.
And that, in the full, makeup, that is not...
But some people like that guilt trap, man. Whatever, man. Whatever your kink is. But he then starts doing, the chants and the demon playing it up. And then he starts throwing holy water at her. And and then the demon's moaning. She's like,
you're making it so wet.
Yeah. And then the most dramatic part, she's starts...
masturbating.
Yeah, touching herself. And then it's so dramatic, the sound, it's like... It's hilarious.
I was what the fuck? She has a river down there.
It was. I was like, whoa, what's going on down there? Is she putting her fingers in pudding?
That is what it sounded like. I can never hear
it. Was do the sound.
It
was like. It was.
It's
was
like when you're poking in Vaseline.
Exactly. And it was awkward because we had Vienna sitting there. I'm like,
and then I looked down and she's like,
It was.
Oh my god.
God damn it. But yeah, that happens.
But the thing is, it seems like she orgasms, and when she does, she they make it seem like she passes out.
Yeah. And then it's the climax of the whole exorcism, the chant or whatever. And he's like, oh my God, it did it. And then he goes and feels her pulse. And then all of a sudden, the demon takes his hand and makes it go south.
Richard says all kinds of wild shit, but today's like she's touching them there. It's going south.
He's like, the hand's going to the chocha, okay? It's going to the cilantro.
He does, and they start making out.
Well, and so this is him. What I gathered out of this, because later he explains it, he failed. That's his temptation that he went in, and he went to make out with the fucking
demon.
In his defense, she did turn out of zombie mode.
Oh, yeah, she did look
demon
normal
mode.
again for a second.
Yeah, she looked normal, so he is like, oh, touching the chocha, kissing, doing the whole intimate thing.
And then he jumps on her, and he's still kissing her, and he stops and he looks up and he's like, no. And then we can see it in his face.
Yeah.
The demon is now on him. His face starts turning.
He's got the thriller eyes.
He has the thriller eyes. And he says no, screams, and then that's the end of that scene.
Yeah, yeah. And then it pans out. Don't we hear the bed rocking, or is that later?
No, that's later. So we don't know what happened.
It's like, we don't know. That was hilarious.
It was a hard thrusting too. I'm like, oh my God, dude, it was she's getting hurt.
It was like an old bed too. The
springs.
Was it was. Well, yeah, it was a hard pounding too. But dude, he's a virgin theoretically. He's never done it. Who knows?
So he would have nutted in like 3 seconds.
But the spring was like, Like, if I was outside, I'd be like, what is going on? Magali, are you okay?
For real. Oh my gosh. Okay, we're talking way too much about this.
Well, it's such an important part of the movie. Like, it sets the whole thing up. And this is what people can get past.
Well, we don't even see the full. This is because this scene, it just cuts when he screams no. We can see the demon in him.
Yeah.
And then the title comes up, and then we see 18 years later. So we're like, okay, so what happened? Did he defeat the demon? Like, you don't know for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, 18 years later, he's out in the field, doing peasants' work, collecting food for the town. You laughed. It was hilarious.
Well, before that, he gets we see the old prison.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's a really, wherever this was filmed, it looks really old and beat down and real creepy. Prison. And so there's
it's not a real prison. The shot outside was.
Yeah.
The inside was completely, they made that.
Oh, that looks pretty cool.
Yeah, they did a really good job. It looks
gross and dirty. Father Michael, he's like, Peter, where am I? I shouldn't have brought holy water. I should have brought bleach because it just looks so grimy.
But he's not there yet.
No, but so right now we just are kind of getting like a little bit of what's to come. So there's a guard. He's
collecting all the food back.
The trays from the prisoners. And
nobody's eaten.
And he's pulling them, and the prisoners, and this is it seems like it was an all-female.
Yes, all-female prison. Yeah.
And they're not eating, and then there's one cell where he sticks his hand in and he can't reach the tray.
So this is so predictable, and this is kind of the thing people were talking about. But yeah, why would you do this, and why wouldn't you have someone with you? Mm-hmm. You're not going to reach your hand. Obviously, this is a heavily, like, this, out of all the other prison gates,
the most dangerous.
Yeah, because it's heavily, like, it's got 3 layers of steel, mm-hmm. and then a very, like, big open, like, slant thing to put food through. Why would you stick your hand in that? That's like throwing your hand into a gorilla's like cage, to pet the gorilla. Why would you do that?
It's stupid.
But anyways, I think it's to move the storyline, get the point. But he reaches in there. He can't reach it. Obviously, it's at a distance. It shows us the food tray. And then his boss shows up. He's like, hey, what are you doing? You crazy? You loco, man?
And even he's like, what the fuck are you doing alone? He's like, this is bad.
During that, this is the first jump you got.
Yeah. Something grabs his hand and he's screaming. He finally pulls his hands out and like 2 or 3 of his fingers are missing.
Yeah, he gives us the stabby goodbye, dude.
And,
shout out the ringer.
Yes. So you're like, oh shit, what's in that cell? And we pan out to the town. We see the father with all the people. And this one got you. He's like, you're getting the vibe that he's very well liked. Everybody likes him.
Mm-hmm.
And then this guy takes a drink of a bottle of water and he's like, Felipe, what are you doing? That's holy water. And he spits it out. And everybody laughs and they're like, ho, 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 the father made a funny.
Yeah, I made another funny. And that was funny. It's showing up that 18 years later, he's still trying to do good. And he is a good guy.
Yeah, and the other thing, so he's there. He's helping the community, passing out food, and then a lady approaches him and says that she needs help. Her son is sick.
Yeah, she's like, come help me.
So the thing we get, there's a war of sorts going on, it seems like, and this specific town is having a hard time getting a hold of medicine, prescriptions, food, and a lot of other things that they need.
And their kids are getting
There's
sick.
a weird virus, too, going on with the kids.
And they can't get the help for the kids. And a few have already died.
Mm-hmm.
But we show up, he goes in there, and this kid essentially was mute before, and he comes in, he's like, what's the kid's name? And then the kid's like, Felipe. And the mom's like, whoa, you are a holy saint. He hasn't spoken in days.
And then that's a few people make this comments. They think he's a saint because of whatever happened 18 years ago. He defeated.
Yeah, he's a legend.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm just doing my work. Nothing. He's trying to be humble or whatever. But they end up taking Felipe to the hospital and he's got rashes all over. And that's a common theme for the kids that's happening. And this is playing a part into him because the kids are a big part of his.
You see him playing with the kids.
Yeah, it's a big part of his life or whatever, trying to take care of these kids. So the demon...
It seems like they're orphans.
Yes, the orphans.
Some of them,
So the demon is coming for these kids and really getting to them.
Mm-hmm. We also see a conversation happen between Nelson and the father. So Nelson's telling him, kids are continuing to die. Like you said, there's been like 4 dead this week. And he's like, maybe it's a punishment from what happened, all those years ago. And Nelson essentially is telling him, let it go. It wasn't your fault.
Yeah.
You confessed. And he's
but
like...
no one knows the full story of, the rape.
I think Nelson knows.
Oh, okay.
From what I got. Because he said, you confessed. You did whatever you could. And what Peter says, yes, but I couldn't carry out his...
penance.
His penance. And the penance, he tried to confess to a father, to a regular priest. And the priest says that his penance was to go confess to a bishop who is someone in a higher authority. And so he just hasn't been able to bring himself to go talk to a bishop.
And that's the thing. He flies to Italy, doesn't he?
I don't know that it's
Italy. Or the
Italy.
Vatican. He goes to the Vatican.
No, he goes to another town.
Oh.
Because there's bishops all in bigger cities.
Oh,
Not
okay.
necessarily. They send them from the Vatican.
Well, it looks pretty grand, and he has his tape Magali with him. It's Magali 2003.
His VHS porno.
Yeah, his porno tape. But he has it in his briefcase, and he's ready to pull it out, and then the bishop's like, yeah, the Vatican's heard about you, the great things you're doing, and you know what? We're going to cut you a check to help these kids.
Yeah.
And he's like, so he slowly, it shows the tape up, and then
puts it back in.
He's like, oh, I'm going to put this away.
I'm eating medicine for the kids.
Yeah, and then he looks like a hero. And really, I don't think this is a conflict. I don't think he does this for the adorations. I think he does it because he truly wants to help the people. And by admitting guilt, he would have screwed over the people by not getting that check. And it was a huge check because then all this medical equipment floods in, all this food, all the supplies come in.
Mm-hmm. And then we get to see a side of him where you can tell he's still dealing with this guilt of what he did. He's in his room feeling like he's praying and he hears screaming and he goes to go check it out. He makes it into the side of the church. And this is when shit starts getting tense. The cross at the altar is empty. There's no Jesus hanging from it. The statue is gone.
Because earlier it shows
just a wooden,
Jesus hanging there.
Yeah, it's just a wooden cross at this time. And then at the back of, and it seems like it's there's no electricity because they use candles in a lot of the scenes.
Right.
So he's walking around with his candle. He hears a man crying at the very back of the church. He goes to check on him, and he's like, hey, are you okay?
Yeah.
Gets up close, and and it's zombie Jesus for the first time.
The guy is like crying in the corner, head down, and just leaning on there. He's like, hey, do you need help? Clearly there's blood all over, dripping.
Oh, yeah.
And then, the guy, it freaked you out.
Oh, he did. He, like, looks up. His hair flies sticky. Very fake, but it's also, like, his eyes, those very bright contacts. They just... And the other thing, it wasn't just contacts. Like, all of these characters, like the zombie, and then we later see the statue of Mary, they're bulging almost.
Yeah.
So it seems very unnatural and just creepy.
It's not the caring Jesus that we've known.
And then they run towards him, doing this very creepy, like, movement and crawls over him.
Yeah, and then he runs away, but then he hears something in the confession booth, and this is a trope, like the suspense, and he grabs like an urn or something.
It's a candle holder.
Yeah, a candle holder, and he's ready to swing whatever's in there. He's going to hit it, and then he opens it, and it's not there, but the trope, obviously, it's behind him.
It's baby Jesus goes to take a bite out of his neck,
and then he wakes up.
Yeah.
So he's dreaming, he's having nightmares.
Yeah.
And this is showing that he's still battling with the guilt of what happened 18 years ago.
So at this point, he gets a call from the jail. They have an inmate who needs help, and she specifically asked for him.
Yeah, and he's like, whoa, I don't do that kind of stuff.
Do you need a doctor?
Yeah, a doctor. It sounds like she needs help. And they're like, no, the help she needs doesn't require a doctor. And he's like, okay, I'll go check it out.
So he goes and checks it out. They're giving him a ward down. The warden is saying that is this girl that they found. They've done everything they can to help her. Nothing is helping. She killed and bled someone. The person that they found, the head was completely spun around. And she had it hanging, just bleeding out. So they go to check it out. And this is like this long alley, all metal, gross prison. And it's super chained up. So they open it and we see this girl just kind of squatting in the middle. Again, there's that lighting coming from one window way up high.
Yeah.
Shining down on her. And she turns around in a white dress. Again, just playing with all these elements. Like, white means purity, right?
Right.
And she says, you can tell she's possessed at this point. She has that bulgy makeup going on with her. She's chained down, too.
Exactly.
Because they're scared of her. And she says that Easter is going to bring a miracle. The miracle of resurrection. And he's trying to talk to her. And she's like, oh, Father, we already know each other very well.
He's like, I don't know you. She's like, oh, yes, we do. And then she like rubs herself.
She's like,
and licks her fingers.
She opens her legs and she's like, I'm wet for you again.
And blood drips out.
A ton of it, though. It's like a big splash.
And again, the sound is like...
It was fucking gross.
Yeah, and she's like, oh my God, I'm wet for you again. And then he's like, oh shit, this is a clear exorcism. So he's like, man, we got to go. And then he makes the call to the bishop, or goes to the bishop.
And so first he comes out and he's talking again to the guard, says he can't do it. And they're like, please, you got to do it. Do it for the mom.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And she comes and does the big reveal. It's Magali, the lady that he did the exorcism on.
And she's like, do it for your daughter. And
she's like, it's your daughter. And even Magali, she's like, yeah, she asked for you specifically. And she didn't know, like, all this time, Esperanza didn't know that Peter was her dad.
Exactly.
But somehow she specifically asked for him.
Yeah.
And then they go outside and they're having this conversation about what happened all those years ago. And this is when Magali comes forth and she's like, it took me a few days and weeks, but eventually I did realize what you did to me. But she knew that no one would believe her if she spoke up. So she decided to leave town. So she's been gone from the town all this time. She went, had her daughter, raised her alone. And then, but Esperanza, their daughter, she's been getting possessed by this demon over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So now they're back in town. So that's the end of that conversation. And then we have another scene where It was very creepy. I've seen it in other shows like sleep paralysis.
Yeah. Again, he's being tormented.
Yeah. And so we see him. He wakes up. He can't move.
And this happened it wasn't his movie, but the sleep paralysis is common. At least this is the second Latin American movie we watched. What was the other one where it was under his bed?
Oh.
And then with the boy.
Aterrados?
Yes. Terrified.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The sleep paralysis, man, it was creepy. And he can't move. He can move it. He struggles to move his head because he hears the door open.
Mm-hmm.
And he turns that way. And then behind him, it's on the other side. The sheets raise up. And then it's zombie Jesus.
Again, yeah. Trying over and over to get him.
He wakes up screaming.
Yeah. And so next day he's back at the hospital. That little boy that we saw earlier on, he's dead now.
Yeah, he passed.
And they're saying, again, they have no idea what it is. There's no damage to the organs. They've run all this tests. They don't know what it is.
Right.
And then we see a flashback. Magali's at the hospital or at the church, convent, whatever, the orphanage. And she's seeing Peter interacting with all these kids and they're loving on him. And she has a memory of when she used to be a nun there.
And he clearly is happy and doesn't realize she's right there.
Yeah. And so this is where we get that back in the day, 18 years ago, Peter had feelings for her.
Because then it shows 18 years ago where she's singing
to the kids.
Yep. And then all the kids are singing back and he's just smiling and
he has a
showing.
Big grin.
Yeah. Something's brewing down there.
Yeah.
Down south.
And he helped get Christmas presents for the kids. They're all excited. Magali's honestly excited. She thanks him, gives him a hug, and you can tell that hug means more to him than it does to her.
This is where we meet Camilla, too. She was a product of this orphanage.
Yeah, the orphanage.
Which she's going to play a role in this. She's another...
Nun.
Yeah, she becomes a nun.
Yeah, so Camila comes up. She's standing as Magali is looking at the scene that is happening, and she turns to her and she goes... Sister Magali, and she's like, oh my gosh, Camila. So they're reuniting. You know, it's this little girl that she was helping raise at that time. So now Peter calls the bishop and tells him that there's an exorcism that needs to happen, asks the bishop to reach out to the Vatican so they can all get permission, clear everything out, and get it ready. And then we have, oh my gosh, my note doesn't make sense here.
Well, we go back. Eventually, he calls the priest or the bishop, or he meets with the bishop, and the bishop's like, hey, spare no sense. You're a saint. Do what you got to do. And he's like, well, can I have some backup here? This demon seems pretty strong. I need some support. He's like, yeah, by all means. And he calls up the priest Joffrey, whatever his name is, Michael Lewis.
Michael? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then Michael's like, oh, man, okay. And that's where it picks up where he's been dropped off, and he's like, what kind of hellhole am I at here? He's like, I brought tequila.
The other thing, so this is where Peter, I found it, has a flashback to what really, like, the rest of that night when he exorcised
and this
Magali.
is where the bed goes,
Yeah, so where it cut off last time, where he's screaming and we see him get possessed, the demon fully takes on.
Yeah.
He rapes Magali.
Yeah.
And then as he finishes raping her, Peter comes into the senses a little bit and he like throws himself against the wall.
Yeah, we see his O face and then he throws himself back. He passes out.
And then he gets blue eyes. So they're different. So the demons, we see the yellow contacts. And then whenever they're filled with their goodness and whatever, they're like a bluish color.
So essentially, again, we won't keep bringing it up. He released the demon and then his holiness was back.
Yeah.
So at some point, he had evil and fucking holiness inside him.
So that's what happened. And then as he wakes up from him falling down, there's all the people that were sitting outside, including Dr. Nelson, Magali's mom, I think, trying to freaking knock down the door because he's locked in there.
He's shamed of what just happened, but then
he covers her up, tries to cover up what happened, and it's super sad. I think it's the mom. She gets on her knees and she's like, "Thank you, you saved her."
Yeah,
I was like,
which technically did.
Yes, yeah. So yeah, and then Peter's out reminiscing. He has like a fire outside the orphanage and he burns the tape. He decides to burn all the evidence and then that's it.
Yeah.
We also see...
admit his guilt to
Michael.
Yeah, Father Michael.
Yeah, so they're talking about life.
Which Father Michael has his own demons. Mm-hmm. He has his own sins.
At the same time, we see Camila. She's inside, Nun Camila praying. She looks up and there's like blood dripping on her forehead and she's like, what the hell?
Yeah, and she goes to investigate.
She turns around and there's a huge statue of Mary in the corner and it's gone.
Yeah. So she's walking around and then all of a sudden she's investigating. She finds a cloth in the middle of the hallway.
Oh, that was
And she
creepy.
lifts up and it's a baby fetus.
Yes, that was terrifying.
Yeah, and she's like, oh my God. And then as she's looking at that, then that crazy Virgin Mary statue that turned in kind of like a China doll version. Eyes are bulging out and then they're kind of moving all around, floating.
Yeah,
like,
they float.
They wander.
Yeah.
And one's red, one's blue.
It's walking towards her.
Yeah, the eyes are red and blue, and then it's walking towards her, going to grab her, and it does.
Yeah, and it throws her around.
Yeah, and then ends up possessing her, and the kids, they hear this commotion, and all of a sudden the doors, like, shut, and they just hear singing, and they're like, what the hell?
It opens, and they hear, like, almost like a choir singing.
Yeah.
And then they hear Camila, who is not possessed, saying, children, like, get ready. And one of the little boys, he gets up and he closes the door. He's like, fuck that shit.
Yeah.
But Camila comes in possessed. She knocks down the door.
And the kids are just screaming in the corner.
Oh, yeah. She's coming for them.
This trips up Peter.
Yeah, that just scared me.
This trips up Peter and Michael. And they come running and they see this. The kids are screaming. And then Camila's like running or walking towards them.
Miguel is here at this point, too. She's hanging around and she takes her down for a second.
Yeah.
Michael and Peter hear the screaming from outside and they come inside to help.
Yeah, and they end up tackling her and she's still trying to drag to them to get the kids.
Yeah.
And then Michael puts the cross on her forehead. And I don't know if if this doesn't set these kids straight. I don't know what does. Like, this would send me straight to God. I'd be like, oh my God.
You're like, okay.
I'd be doing that, whatever the...
Praying.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my God.
So the next day, they're at the prison. They show up, and then this is Michael's first time seeing Esperanza being sick. So they walk in, and one thing that the demon in Esperanza is pointing out is that he's involved with the kids being sick in the town. Mm-hmm. Very vaguely, he says that her friends are sick, and it's Peter's fault. But she's collecting them, and we can see on the walls,
like names.
She's been scratching
the names of the kids.
And she also has like a tally of how many kids have died. So she's keeping track of that.
Father Michael's like, yo, this is bullshit. You're nothing. And then the demon's like, shuts the door, slams the door and locks it. He's like, what? That's simple telekinesis. Mm-hmm. What else? This is bullshit. And then she ends up like,
puking on him.
Well, puking, and a lot of people are like, that's cheesy, that Nickelodeon goo, blah, blah, blah. But I thought that was good. And then also she grabs like, it's almost like you don't see it, but like telepathically she's grabbing onto his heart. Like, you know what I mean? Like maybe causing a heart attack.
And she says, we know Father Michael will be
seeing you soon.
Yeah, down there in an hour or something like that.
Shortly, yeah. Which we do know, like, we'll eventually know in the story is he has a secret, and his secret that he hasn't told Peter is he ended up making a deal with Balaban to let an exorcism, let a child free in exchange for his. So he made a deal. And so now he is pretty much useless. And Peter doesn't know this.
The other thing that we start seeing is the other prisoners are also getting possessed. So this demon, Balban, is so strong, he's bringing other demons to possess the other inmates.
Yeah. And so they get out, they're like, oh my God, they reconvene in the cafeteria of that prison. They're like, dude, everybody's got to go. It can only be us, Peter and Michael, the doctor, and Esperanza. And everybody else has to leave. And then the guard's like, no, there's so much red tape. We can't do that. Everybody's got to stay put. And then the doctor's like, you know what? I can put everybody to sleep if that works.
And at this point, they did have to put a tranquilizer on Esperanza because she bit Michael. She ripped his ear off.
Yeah, that was another good part too.
Yeah. And so then the plan is they're going to lock everyone in their cells. Everybody's going to go to sleep and they're going to perform this exorcism. And then one thing that Michael says, Balban is so deceitful. He's so powerful. A regular exorcism will not work on him.
Well, and he's like, you can't believe a word they say. He's a trickster. So And he's like, nothing hurts it. He's like, that's not true. He's a trickster. He's not, even when you're hurting him, you're not going to be able to tell. He's going to give you a full, kind of like in the beginning when the moaning and stuff, he was being hurt by all that.
He was pretending.
But he's pretending and not showing that that stuff was affecting him.
Yeah. And then we briefly see Peter and Magali interacting again. And Magali essentially says, hey, sorry, I was really hard on you last time.
And he's like, no,
when they
you
talked
weren't.
about the rape, because she was like, you were possessed when it happened. And he's like, no, he's like, I was still at fault.
I felt the temptation. I kissed you.
And then the other thing is he was falling in love with her without knowing. So there was even that on that plane as well.
Right.
But the guards, all the doors are locked. They got people locked and chained.
So they're implementing their plan. They're going to do an exorcism. The doctor's putting everybody to sleep, right? And then one of the inmates is still possessed. They're putting her to sleep, but as soon as they put the shot in, to lay her down, she grabs the guard's keys as he's laying her down.
The other thing, the next day when we actually do see Nelson go in and put in tranquilizers, all the guards are gone. And even when
the guards are gone, there's only one guard they said has to be there.
Michael and Peter show up and they're like, where's the guards that were supposed to sit outside Esperanza's prison? They're gone too. But they go in, her cell is empty. And this is where
they don't realize all the doors, all the cells were open. And before they even go in there, we see Dr. Nelson, and he's going back down the cage, and all the cages are open. Prison cells are open.
Yeah, and he finds a prisoner, and she's crying. And this scene, she's scratching her arms to bleeding.
And he's walking towards her and sees the guard that got his fingers bit off. He was the head guard that was supposed to stay there. He's dead.
Oh, yeah.
And stabbed. And that demon's like just scratching the hell out of her arm. That was so nasty.
That was pretty gross. So we see him. One of the prisoners comes up and jumps him. So we think that he's dead at this point. And then we see Nelson. Yeah, the priests come out, both of them, Michael and Peter. They're looking for Nelson because
they got locked in temporarily, and then when Nelson got attacked, the door opened.
Yeah, now they're also noticing that all the cells are open.
Yeah.
And then they hear this very creepy noise of like dragging on the hall, and they realize that it's Nelson.
I thought
He's still alive.
I thought this was Jesus on the cross.
I thought so too, by how heavy the noise was.
Again, the sound was like, it was dragging something, but it was just Nelson's lifeless limbs.
Yeah, so he's crawling, and so he's bleeding from the neck, and at this point, they're surrounded on both ends. They're surrounded on both sides by the prisoners, who are now possessed. They've taken over the prison, it seems like, because they have weapons, they have knives with them. And so the only defense that they have at this point is both Michael and Peter. They pull out their crosses and they start praying and trying to exorcise all of these possessed prisoners. And then at the same time, on Michael's end, we have that same very creepy statue of Mary walking towards him. And she's also going to attack. Back to Peter on his end, we see Esperanza. So they have two big heavy players at this point. Michael is praying his little heart out. And the statue, you can tell it's powerful. It makes his cross that he's holding very bright and red. So he drops it. He pulls out an even bigger cross that he had hiding under his
garments. His bling crucifix.
Like a huge one.
Deanna said Perfecto has one massive that size.
And then at this point, one of the prisoners is about to attack Peter, and then Nelson sacrifices himself. He jumps in the middle so that Peter will stay alive and keep fighting. And the chick, she stabs him. So at this point, Michael and Peter have nothing else left to do but to run out of this location. So they go and they lock themselves in the kitchen. Well, and Michael's upset.
And then did you cover Michael? He was being stopped and they're trying to kill him then.
Oh no, when they're running away.
He got stabbed, and then Peter picks him up and they start running or limping to the kitchen. They end up shutting the kitchen doors.
Yeah, and at this point, Michael's pissed. He's like, dude, you lied about something. You have a sin. That was a huge thing for Michael.
Yeah, what happened 18 years ago?
Well, that was a huge thing for Michael. If they were going into the exorcism, they couldn't have secrets. They couldn't have any
because
sense.
He needed him to be pure and not like him because he's useless. He was going to be support, but he couldn't do it. And Peter needed him to do it because he had his secret. They both had secrets and motives.
Yeah, so he's like, you're carrying a secret. And so Peter comes clean and he's like, yes, okay, 18 years ago.
Yeah, Esperanza, that's
It's
my
your
daughter.
Fucking daughter.
Yeah, and he's like, doesn't even care. He's like, dude, now we're fucked.
Yeah, and he's like, why didn't you confess? And that's where he's like, I did, but I had to tell the bishop. And I
didn't get my penance or whatever.
Yeah. And he's like, well, fine, I'll come out clean. And this is where Michael's like, I sold my soul to Balban to save a little kid that was possessed. So both of them have not been able to successfully beat Balban so far. They had to give something up. He's like, yeah, so they are waiting for me in hell.
And he's like, yeah, I only got so much time. But he's like, we already know this. You know this already. Do not make a deal with Balban. That's what he wants. Don't do it.
Yeah.
And Peter's like, yeah, okay, boss.
So, yeah, Peter runs and leaves Michael in the kitchen to get taken over by all the inmates that are possessed. So Peter decides to come clean. He records himself on his phone, everything that happened 18 years ago, and then he sends, it was interesting, like a fucking messenger to the bishop, just confessing to him. And he's like, all right, I'm just gonna, this is out of the way. I've done, send it to the right person. I'm gonna go and...
well, he had to
face the demons.
Yeah, he had to admit guilt and all that.
So he comes out and he's like, praying, trying to exorcise all the girls.
Yeah.
And down the hall, this is the epic fucking scene. We see zombie Jesus carrying the cross.
Well, you hear it. It's like dragging. And then all of a sudden he drops the cross. And then he looks at him and does the zombie demon crawl.
It's like Megan, the first movie where he's walking on the
crab walking backwards.
That really quickly.
Jumps on the wall. You always get a kick out of that because it is funny. Transposed. Like they used the thing where it was like almost a green screen, and then they used the digital, so it does look.
Yeah, so it looks very.
It's an old school technique they don't use anymore, which I love that they brought this back for this movie. That was awesome.
So he jumps on the wall. He's crawling all fucking creepy like Gollum.
And then, man, Peter's having none of it because the demons are there, and then he just brings out the cross, and he's like a gospel badass because then he starts saying this like thing, and then
praying.
They crumble.
Yeah.
And even zombie Jesus does, and he like falls down. I like how accurate they did because zombie Jesus was about 4'11" or 5 foot. Uh-huh. Did you notice that?
No.
In size? So they depicted him like he would have been because people were shorter back in the day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he was a little dude. I loved it.
So, yeah. So they all fall. But then one of the chicks that was behind him whacks him. Now they have him all tied up on the chair that they set up for Esperanza,
and
but it's him.
This is the showdown. Esperanza versus Peter.
Mm-hmm. And she's like, we're going to get the God out of you.
Yeah. And this is the clever part.
What she wants is
exorcism
Peter,
of performing to get the holiness out of you.
Because no matter what's happening to Peter, he still believes wholeheartedly in the religion and God.
Yeah.
And Balban wants nothing. He's like, no, you're done with that shit. You need to let that go.
Yeah. Which is funny because if you do put yourself in that, because it is like, oh, we're holy, we think that's good. Mm-hmm. But if you flick the switch, they're starting to do the demon chanting, and he's saying holy stuff. So like in a regular exorcism, you're saying the holy stuff, and then the demons are spouting Latin and stuff. So I thought that was an awesome twist to this. It was really good. They played into it, so you could see both sides.
Yeah.
Of an exorcism working. It could go two ways.
So it was funny. They have him tied up, and it's Esperanza and a few of the other inmates, and they're all praying and together.
Very, very Evil Dead. I love that.
Oh, yeah. They were like, blah, blah, blah. And some of those prayers, they're doing the Our Father prayer. Mm-hmm. And so
but demonized.
And at the same time, they're changing some of the words. And then Peter's doing it back the right way.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny. I was like, oh, shit. They're like battling it out. At the same time, Camila, she's back in the room where all the little kids are at the hospital. Mm-hmm. Or in the wing where they have the sick kids. She hears noises. And then all the kids start having like seizures at the same time. You see them on their beds moving around.
Yeah.
And the door locks Camila in there. So she's in there with the kids. And then the same freaking statue of Mary, but this time it does look more like a China doll.
Yeah.
Comes at her again.
So while Peter's not giving up, then it really ratchets it down. And yeah, that Virgin Mary statue's got her tackled, and the kids start flatlining, getting that million-mile stare, and then all of a sudden you hear the beep. I thought that was really effective, but because he wasn't caving in yet.
So Peter starts doing a prayer.
Yeah.
And it must be powerful because at this point he's like, I'm
the
telling
trope,
you.
The holiness trope, the glass shatters and in comes God. Basically, you don't see him, but like all that presence, that energy comes in.
Yeah, and so Peter's telling the demon to leave, and finally the demon says, okay, I will, but you need to consider something.
Yeah.
He's like, if you expel me, I will take all the kids down to hell with me. So you got to pick
including your daughter.
Yeah, you got to pick either your daughter or all the kids die. So yeah, Peter has to give up his soul.
Well, he's like, okay. He's like, what do you want? She's like, I want your soul. And he's like, okay. But he's like, the only way I'm doing this is you let the kids go. And he's like, also my daughter. And then demon has a hard time with this. She's like, the pause. Balban pauses for a minute. And then finally she's like, okay, I'll release your daughter too.
Well, the other thing that he says is he wants Peter to let God exit his body.
Yeah.
And then, Peter's like, okay, done. And then the demon does another fucking stupid prayer where he's like, let the Lord's will be done or whatever. And then drops down. And then we see Camila also. She hits the creepy statue with her cross and she disappears. Mm-hmm. And then turns around and all the kids are alive, sitting down. Nobody died.
Yeah.
Next day. Or it must have been a few days after to get everything cleaned up. I don't know. Next scene, Peter's
carrying Esperanza out the prison, and Magali's there. Everybody's happy. They're like, "Holy shit,
you cured her!"
Yeah, and she looks normal.
The one thing that Viana pointed out is like, okay, she was possessed, but she still killed all these people. Like they're really gonna.
But spiritually, clearly, she was under something because her face looked completely different. And she had thriller eyes. Come on, man.
Okay. I'm going to let it
go. It's passable. I believe it.
So now we see him at church. He's holding a mass. Esperanza and Magali are there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, everybody's happy. It's a joyous occasion.
There's a news station outside.
I liked it because they're
the
like
priest who heals.
The white priest, the gringo priest.
Yeah, that's what they call him, the gringo. El padre gringo. That's what they're advertising. And everyone's trying to touch him because they think he's holy.
He's a saint.
The bishop is there. And so Peter goes up to him. He's like, the video.
But that scene is where people had a problem with, because it was saying no homosexuals, no.
He's saying to reject all bad things.
And
he's going through a list of things.
And that was what people hung up on. It was a simple, like, the movie even grazes over that. And it's not saying it's right or wrong, but it grazes over that, but I feel like that's part of a sermon, wouldn't it be?
Yes, that's a huge thing with church is they don't like people who don't fit, some churches and some religions, if you don't fit within whatever they think it's good.
So it's accurate. It's not like they didn't just pull this out of nowhere to push some agenda, right?
No.
Okay. Being a guy who not religious, I don't go to church, I don't know. But that's one thing I do know about the church. It's always been kind of the
homophobic
dilemma. Yes, yeah.
So,
not saying it's not progressive now, but like I think they are still stuck in their ways a little bit,
especially small towns.
One can argue, right?
Places, yeah.
Okay.
So, so the bishop is there, and he's like, did you watch the video? And the bishop is like, yeah, I deleted it. Nothing happened.
Yeah, he's like, you've been forgiven. Consider that a...
And he got a promotion at the Vatican. They're
but
like,
no, he's like, consider that a... What is it when you admit guilt?
I don't know.
What do they call the thing? The booth?
Confession?
Yeah, your confession. That was a private confession or whatever. That's what he called it. Yeah, you're confessing to me.
So, but they tell him that there's like some special position that they want him to do at the Vatican.
Yeah, but they don't specify what it is.
No, and then Esperanza comes up. She tries to hold his hand, and this is where it gives you weird vibes because Peter lets go of her hand aggressively.
Well, and then his hand like gets tight, and he's like, something's wrong.
She tells him, thank you for everything. Both her and Camila give him a hug, and they walk away.
Mm-hmm.
Esperanza goes back to, hang out with everyone who's there. And then when Peter turns to the bishop, we see he gets the demon eyes, the yellow light contacts.
This is a total Michael Jackson Thriller moment because he turns around and you just see the yellow eyes.
And then we see that the bishop is a servant to the demon. He says like some sort of little prayer to him.
He's like, oh, hell, Balaban.
Yeah.
And then he's like, we got work for you at the Vatican. And they turn around. He's like, man, all these people think Father Peter's a saint for what he did. And then Balaban does. He's like, he is a saint. He sacrificed himself. He is a saint. Yeah. But he's like, also, we found out 2 things. God played his hand in this. We didn't know his plan, but he played his hand here. And they turn around. They're like, I did not see this coming. How did I not see this coming? And we look at Esperanza, and then her eyes turn blue. Yeah. So she was holy. The demon had to leave her, but then God went inside her.
Yeah. So they're saying that she's God's new chosen one.
Saint. She's a saint. And they're like, we'll handle it with God's new saint later.
And then the ending scene is Peter arriving at the Vatican, and he says that evil will inherit the earth.
Yeah, not this. They had it wrong. Demons that don't inherit the kingdom of God, we inherit earth.
Dun, dun, dun.
Which sequel? No, it hasn't happened. Although I'd be kind of intrigued to see a sequel. Nowhere near would it be as good as this, but I'd be entertained to see the story continue.
Yeah.
But that's the end of it. We talked thoroughly in detail about this movie. Has your opinion of it changed?
No.
And some people are going to be like, wow, you guys just are all over this thing, sucking up, brown nosing. But you know what? We get nothing out of it. Yes. Yeah. We're taking the money shot to the face. But I like this movie. This movie hit. We've watched a lot of movies and covered a lot of movies. This one, I would say, is in my top 5 of what we've done so far in the show.
And good job to the person that recommended it.
Mm-hmm. Orlando from Muscle Health Fitness. Good job.
Massage.
Yeah. Check them out if you're in the Spokane area. But so yeah, that's the movie. What was your favorite possession? What was your favorite thing about this movie? Maybe not kill, possession.
But I know this is a Vienna suggestion. What was our favorite possession?
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of possessed. Probably. Damn it, I was actually thinking about this the other day, and I will
admit, I like the Magali in the beginning. Mm-hmm. That was perfect. It set the tone for what to expect.
She was pretty good.
Yeah, the acting in that was incredible because you got to really be able to give yourself to it because you're put in pretty vulnerable positions, right?
Yeah,
she does an incredible job.
Did I write it down anywhere? I didn't. I don't remember if it was Magali or if it was someone else.
Okay.
Okay.
What would you rate this movie?
Holy macaroni. I would rate this movie a 4.5.
Dude, I'm giving this movie a 5.
Wow.
Is it perfect? No, but 5 for me. This is entertaining, and yes, I would most certainly watch this again. I would give it a little bit of time, but I would revisit this. This would be one that I do revisit.
Is it an Easter movie?
I would. And I'm like, Chancho, sit on my lap. We're watching Exorcism of God.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, I would give it a 5. I don't think I've given many 5s.
Not many.
I can't recall the last 5 I've given. I know I have.
At one point I was tracking our scores, but I stopped.
At one point I know I have. I know this season I haven't. But I'm giving this one a 5.
The Machinist was a what? 3.5?
3. I think I gave it a 4. I don't know. Not a 5.
Not a 5.
So I do. I give it a 5. I like it. And you give it a 4.5, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Also, before I forget, if you want to hang out at the end of the episode, I do have a bonus song. It's Zombie Jesus in celebration because it's Easter. So if you want to listen to it, I find it hilarious and it was fun to make.
Cool. Thanks for the little treat, Richard.
Yeah. Do we have anything else?
Critics ratings?
Yes, we have that. And then I do want to say this is our season finale. So we're going to take 2 weeks off. And then, but in the 2 weeks, next Monday, we will have a Obsession Bites episode, mini episode detailing what movies we're going to cover next. We're going to send a poll out of what movies you guys recommend. We're going to have a handful of them to pick from. You guys can pick the 2, and me and Angelos will pick 3 each. So I'm excited. Stay tuned for that. Thank you for an awesome season. I think this was enjoyable. Did you?
I liked it.
I like the season. We watched movies me and you both haven't seen.
Yeah.
I thought that was awesome. So stay tuned for that. And then we'll go to our next segment, Vienna's Review Corner. All right?
Yes, senor.
All right. We'll be right back.
All right.
Vienna's Review Corner. Sometimes she watches. Sometimes she won't. Sometimes she's hyped, but most times she's mad. Take it away, Vienna.
And we're back, folks. Vienna, how are you doing today, little person over there?
Okay, I'm good.
You're okay and you're good?
Yeah.
This week's movie, Exorcism of God. Did you watch all of it? I know you watched at least part of it.
Yeah, I watched it. I was like paying attention.
How did you feel about this movie?
I liked it. And people who made comments like stupid ones about just focusing on one thing they're not smart. And they don't understand media literacy.
Okay.
Yeah. What does this sound like?
Okay, so you watched it. What would you rate it?
Like a 4. It's pretty. Or 3.5.
3.5?
Yeah, 3.5, 4.
It's just average of the road for you?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Okay, and you pitched what was your favorite exorcism? Possession, I guess.
Ooh, probably Camila.
Camila?
Yeah.
Did she get... Oh,
She
yeah,
did.
when she came for the little kids.
Yeah.
That would have been terrifying.
Can you imagine?
No, you're like, this is the person that you trust and she's trying to get your ass.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been intense.
Yeah.
I think I thought about who my favorite possession was, the statue of the Virgin Mary.
Mm-hmm.
That was very unsettling.
Yeah. Was that like a Well, yeah, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, because it possessed essentially the statue. I know it wasn't a person, but
Yeah.
it was creepy.
Mm-hmm. The makeup was really good.
Yeah, it was nuts.
Maybe
So,
you should be here for Halloween.
no,
Cool.
that's a lot of effort. I'm not good at Halloween.
No, just like
makeup.
half-ass it, you know?
Half-ass it. You gotta look good and scary like she was.
No, it's okay.
Okay, so for the movie, how did the people feel about it? I know you made a small comment about it already.
It got an average on Letterboxd, like 2.0, because...
Low?
Yeah, because people just aren't very smart again with their media literacy. So
Okay, that's kind of it sounds like it aligns with some of the reviews that we saw when we were doing research.
definitely. Someone gave it half a star and said,
Half a star. Holy shit.
embarrassing and homophobic.
That's it?
It's the Catholic Church. What are we expecting?
Damn.
Also, I feel like that shouldn't be your focus of the movie. I feel like it was meant to be like, oh, like, look, like, not everyone's perfect. Like, there's a lot of things, and then people are, like, hypocritical, you know? So, like, even when they're not perfect.
Yeah, you're making Richard have feelings.
Why?
Because he agrees.
Oh. Oh, what were you going to say? Sorry.
Oh, and what else do they have to say?
Someone else said, they gave half a star too and said, how did they manage to be misogynistic, xenophobic, sexist, and homophobic? Also, why did they have to insist on the devil having a wop? Like,
A wop?
mm-hmm.
A wet ass kitty? A wet ass kitty?
I guess. I don't know.
Georgia, to me, it wasn't surprising. They were pushing it over a little bit more, the sexual innuendo.
Yeah.
But I've seen that in so many other exorcist possession movies.
Yeah.
Where the demon is trying to push, and they know that, like, one of those big, like, the 7 mortal sins or whatever, one of them is, like, temptation and lust.
Mm-hmm.
So they always I've seen it in several movies where they play on that and they push on that, on the sexual, because normal humans, that's one of the...
people were saying that. They were like, oh, why did he have to rape her? Oh, like, why is it so sexual? And it's like, well, like, that's the point of the movie.
Yeah, this priest wanted to... he had the sin of the lust.
Yeah. And obviously, it's not like, oh, that's a good thing. Obviously not, but, like, it happens, and, like...
Yeah.
You're human. Just saying, like, he wasn't, like, perfect, you know, even though he was supposed to be a priest.
All right.
Someone said...
Richard has a comment later.
So, there's, like, only, like, 4, like, really, like, bottom of the, like, bad ones. Someone said, a sexist, homophobic, and misogynistic riff on The Exorcist with a logline so insane I can't even describe, but highly advise to not give it a chance. As a Venezuelan, it's amazing. This is the greatest tragedy my country has lived through.
Oh, they're coming from, they pushed the limits. It was too much for them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I feel like it pushed the limits, but I don't know. I kind of like it when movies do that. It's like...
it's horror.
Yeah, it's like not something that you see every day. Because what Richard said at one point, like while we were watching the movie, he's like, oh, well, people complain that they don't push the limits enough. But when they do, they get like iffy about it.
Yeah, they don't like it.
Yeah.
Huh? Their buttholes pucker.
Oh, yeah. Like a little fish. Someone gave it 3.5 stars and said, personally, I think exorcism movies are all the same. Demons, priests, churches, crosses, demonic possession, someone strapped to a bed, Bible readings, confessions, uncertainty regarding faith, creepy imagery, jump scares, and multiple exorcisms. This one has all that, just like only a lot hornier. There's also a neat twist here that I've never seen in one of these types of films that made it a lot more interesting. Last 30 minutes are bonkers. The Exorcism of God is campy, cheesy, and fun.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Mm-hmm. And then this girl gave it 0.5 star and said, this film should come with a trigger warning that it asks you to sympathize with a rapist that never does anything to redeem himself and treats the victim of assault extremely carelessly. It's not real.
You're going hard on the reviews.
I am. Why are we just taking that out of it? Like, it's not asking you to do that. And someone said, like, another, like, review was like, oh, like, what was it? It was like, the main character was very hard to empathize with. And it's like, you're not supposed to empathize with him. You're supposed to be against him. Like, he rapes him.
Yeah, like, you can have whatever feelings you have against him. That's not... they weren't trying to show him as the victim at all. I didn't get that from the movie.
Get that, no.
They're just showing him, go through and look, you fucked up, and it's still here to chase your ass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know. I just thought that one was dumb, too.
Yep.
Yeah.
What else you got?
Someone gave it 3 stars and said, okay, this was meant to be a joke, right? A spoof on exorcism films, making fun of religious hypocrisy? Because if so, this was a lot of fun and had me laughing at its over-the-top silliness. With its overt sexual themes, Catholic icon... Oh my gosh, I can't talk today, sorry. Iconography being used to represent evil and all-powerful demons performing their own exorcisms of sorts. This movie could be considered hilarious or sacrilegious and hateful depending on its perceived intent. I'm going to choose to believe that this is meant as a parody and as such think that it was entertaining enough.
Yeah, there you go. You choose to see what you see.
Mm-hmm.
Right on.
Someone else gave it 3 and said, as far as exorcism movies go, there isn't much wiggle room apparently. While this movie does add a nice twist, it doesn't do much else to color outside the lines. This is enjoyable for what it is, and you will probably have fun watching it as long as you aren't expecting anything too much.
I think that's kind of how we went into it. We didn't know anything about this movie.
Yeah.
We know that a lot of exorcist possession movies kind of follow the same storyline.
Mm-hmm.
They have this like certain elements that they play on. So I think we saw the trailer, went in blind, not expecting a ton out of it.
Yeah.
But we enjoyed it.
And someone gave it 5 stars and said, this is my jam, possession / exorcism trash at its finest. The best I've seen in years, actually. This is so much more than CGI Jesus. That twist ending, amen.
Yeah, I agree with this review.
And then the last person gave it 4 stars and said, I like exorcism movies and horror movies dealing with religion in general. At this point, though, we've pretty much seen what the subgenre has to offer, or so I thought. This film is relentless in its pace. There are plenty of scares, creepy scenes, intense scenes, and surprises. I couldn't believe some of the things they did in this. I think this is a solid film throughout and definitely worth checking out.
Definitely. So again, folks, go check it out.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for those reviews. Good combo of the good and the bad.
Mm-hmm. What movie are we watching next week?
It's a surprise. This is the last episode of season 2. So we get to regroup and put together a new list.
Okay.
That'll come out next week.
I'm expecting the most out of you, too.
The mostest?
The most.
All right. Anything else you have for us today, Camila?
Hasta luego, sí.
All right. Thank you, Vienna.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Mija, I'm proud of you, Mija. I'm being attacked. Mija, I'm proud of you. We agree. Our opinions align this week. That's amazing. I think, is it a full moon or eclipse? Something?
I don't know. The stars aligned.
Anyways, thank you. That was riveting shit. That was good.
Riveting shit.
All right. Yeah, so in 2 weeks, we're going to take a 2-week break, but be on the lookout. Next Monday will be our Obsession Bites, our mini episode, and it'll be fun and doing fun things. Please like, subscribe, rate our podcast. Anything helps, man. We need the support.
Spread the good word.
Spread the good word of Richard and Angelus.
Mm-hmm.
We're dos amigos, man.
The dos amigos, the tres amigos with Vienna.
Oh, yeah, Vienna, tres amigos. But anyways, do we have anything else?
No.
Are we good? I feel like we had something.
No, that's it.
Okay, well, with that,
hasta luego.
Oh, wait.
What?
Hasta luego, but then stay tuned because I got a Zombie Jesus song if you want to listen to it and you're interested. It's going to be the very end of this. All right, guys. Peace.
Thanks for listening to Horror Cinema Obsession. We hope you had as much fun as we did. If so, help spread the word by leaving a rating and review wherever you listen to podcasts. And join us next time for another episode of Horror Cinema Obsession.
They said he was gone. 3 days later he came back, but something's wrong. Eyes are glowing, skin decayed. He's not preaching love, he just wants praise. Poor zombie Jesus, walking through the mist. He's got holes in his hands and a hunger you can't resist. Forget your sins, he's after your head. He forgives, but first he needs fed. water turned to blood, the wine curdled thick. He turned a fish into a flesh-eating trick. He said, take this bread, it is my flesh. Then bit a guy named Luke right in the neck. Perv zombie Jesus, risen 2.0. He'll raise the dead and eat 'em real slow. Salvation's off, resurrection's cursed. Last Supper? Nah, it's his first. Thou shalt not run, thou shalt not scream. The kingdom of heaven has just split at the seams.